What's the first really the good piece of advice you want to give to a guy who's probably listening right now and is like struggling with his channel or wants to start one?
The best advice that I could ever give anybody who makes content online is always put your integrity first. Never put anything else ahead of that. Because the minute that you do, then you've lost your way already. You know, you have to understand that even though you're on YouTube, whoever the fuck it is who has 500,000 subscribers, everybody's under construction. Nobody uploads something and says, this is the greatest work I've ever done and it's never going to get any better than this. Understand that self-doubt is what drives your creative force. You know, that's what drives it. The fact that we're all perfectionists and we're thinking, well, I can do better. I'm going to come fucking back next week and I'm going to do an even better job. You know, and that's where your integrity lies. It lies in that. And for example, when I first started YouTube, a few companies approached me and they're like, hey, would you like to put our ads on your videos before it and we'll pay you such and such? And I said, no. I had like 500 subscribers. I'm like, dude, nobody knows me. What am I going to gain from that? Like, what am I going to get? Like $50? It's worth more to me than $50. Maybe if they would have offered me more, maybe then I would have said
yeah.
But that's the best advice I can give. Always put your integrity first and you'll never go wrong with that. How about yourself?
My advice is to honestly work very hard, and if you're not working very hard at it and you don't really enjoy it, don't do it. Like, right. Maybe it sounds kind of harsh. I mean, like, I just hope that you're enjoying what you're doing, because then you're gonna be working really hard at it. So what I'm saying is, know why you're doing this. Like, please figure that out, because don't just make a let's play video or a music review or commentary video just because you think you'll get some money out of it, because people can smell that. And I've even made some videos where I tried to dabble in other things and it wasn't as pure to me. Like, I kind of enjoyed making them, but I knew that I was just trying to, like, I was just kind of dabbling in this thing that wasn't really me and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just saw something like The Needle Drop and I was like, man, I love how he talks about music. Maybe I could try and talk about it. But it didn't feel like me. So just be aware of what you want to do. Like, what's your voice?
Right.
Because, I mean, D-Respect's already here. So if you're trying to do something that he's doing, he's going to beat you out of it every time.
Right. I'm going to beat you out of being me.
Yeah. And, like, and this applies, to, like, once again, to, like, art, music, all that shit. Like, Miles Davis.
Yeah, this just isn't, by the way, I apologize. This just isn't about YouTube. Apply everything that we're saying just for any creative endeavor.
Please. I'm struggling with this right now. And that's the thing. Like, there are guys who or girls, you sexist. So you'll see them do something, like they play music or they draw and they're so good at it, and you're looking from the outside saying, oh my god, but in their mind they think that there's some like piece of shit who's just trying to copy and find their voice and all that stuff. Like right. D said, you'll always have that struggle, but one interesting way to get out of that is, like, when you're by yourself at some point, doing whatever it is you do, jerking off or whatever.
There you go.
You draw or you write. Just take a moment to make something that no one else will see. And draw something as if you didn't have any rules. Write if you're a writer, write something as if there was no real structure to it, and you'll find that that's usually where your style lives. Do you know what I'm talking about, D?
Like, your style lives within something that you won't show to anyone else and you'll keep it to yourself?
No, not necessarily. What the point of me saying you're not showing it to anyone is, like, saying you have no fear of judgment.
Okay.
So, like, and I notice this in myself, the way I draw when I know that, like, no one's going to see it, it's like, there's just a particular style to it. Like, so I'm just saying, if you're worried about, like, you're sounding too much like other people and all that, try and experiment some more. Do what feels right to you, or whatever feels good. I mean, it's an amazing art. For you bums who don't know what Catfish is, it's a show on MTV. A very simple premise. some poor sap goes on Facebook or some online thing, meets a really cool person. They start chatting. They're falling in love with them. They go on Skype. They're like showing their tits or their dicks or whatever, and they fall in love. And but they never meet the person, and they wonder, like, that's kind of weird. So this guy comes along, this photographer, and he puts them in touch with a person in real life, and it's always not the person.
Was it Neve?
Yeah, Neve.
Neve.
I think he's gay.
Well, you think Anthony Bourdain's gay?
I said that?
Yeah, you
No, Andrew Zimmern.
No, sorry,
Yeah.
Andrew Zimmern. Sorry.
Bourdain, man, that's a man's man, as they say. What a dumb term. And yeah, Catfish. I love this show, by the way. Love that shit.
Yeah, Catfish. I wondered while watching the show, I wondered how much of it was fake, though.
As with all reality shows, you just have
because the basic formula of the Catfish show was disappointment. You're going to be disappointed, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, well, at least for the second season now, you have to figure that whoever signs up for it knows that they're going to be disappointed.
Okay, so I would say maybe it's like when you find out that your wife has been cheating on you, you want to know who the guy is. Although you don't want to know, you want to know, right? You at least want to confront him, right?
Right.
So maybe it's that thing where you know something wrong is happening, but you just want to, like, you put so much time and effort into this person that you just want to have it in front of your face, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that's it, maybe?
I guess just for peace of mind, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, some of these people, like, they'll talk to someone for a year online and they never seen them on webcam. Yeah. It's all phone conversation. One guy, this was hilarious. This white guy, he thinks he's talking to this hot ass white chick on Facebook. He's in love with her. I guess they have phone sex on the phone and whatnot, and he's like showing her his dick on cam. Anyway, he meets the girl, knocks on the door. Fat gay black dude comes out.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I think I saw that
so
one.
So it's just the opposite on, like, each spectrum.
Right, just everything is the opposite. You think it's a guy. You think it's a girl, it's a guy. You think she's slim, he's fat. You think she's white, he's black.
He's like, at least be white, man.
You know something.
Yeah, but the guy's like, hey. I just the look on his face. I like, either these guys are really like Daniel Day-Lewis level actors, or they're just genuinely, like, they look like they're about to cry. Sometimes they're angry. God, that's suffering. Do you know anybody who's been catfished?
I don't think I've known anyone else. I was sort of catfished by a fat chick.
The yellow coat.
Right, with the yellow coat. But no, not really. And, you know, these shows, I guess I watch them and I say, well, it's pretty obvious, but I guess I just never think about the fact that these shows are just cautionary tales. What they're really doing is they're trying to warn you that this is out there. And people are really naive these days. And I think it's pretty funny that the host's name is Neve, and he's always dealing with naive people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see what I did there, right? You saw that?
Okay.
Yeah. It's how I pay the bills.
We do puns here on the Double D's podcast. We're funny guys.
Puns on the Double D's. But yeah, and I also did suspect that him and his boy were gay. I did also think that, and I'm sure everybody else does as well.
They're too well groomed. By the way, speaking of well groomed guys who may be gay, Miguel kicking girls in a concert, that dude is dumb.
That was great.
I mean, I just want to know, did he think that he was gonna cross that platform?
I guess he did. I guess maybe he tried it beforehand and he had sweats.
He's like, man, I'm fucking Miguel. I got a pompadour haircut. All the bitches are on me. I'ma just jump.
And didn't make it. Oh, man. I wonder if that girl can sue.
People keep talking about that. I was thinking about if I would do it, and I would maybe sue, but if I did, I would feel like a piece of shit. But
you think maybe if they position you in that pit, you have to sign a waiver?
That would make sense.
You would think maybe, like, just in case, pyrotechnics the pyrotechnics made their way onto you. Maybe your hair caught fire. You can't sue us. Or an artist fucking drops the Hulk Hogan knee on your fucking head. You can't sue us.
God, he must feel dumb. That has to be a weird thing. Just imagine, folks, if you will, being Beyonce. So first off, you're a hot ass black chick with like long legs. So you're probably like fingering yourself and looking in a mirror. But after you're done with that,
constantly,
you walk out on stage and there's just like 500,000 people in front of you. What? First off, like what the fuck? Like at that moment, like I wonder what that feels like. But second off, it's like, goddamn, yeah. I guess I got caught up in thinking about it.
You got caught up in the thought, is what you did.
Yeah, I'm like Beyonce right now. I feel just like her. We expect these people. Or what I'm saying is, we look out at them and we expect them to not make mistakes somehow. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's why it's a big deal when they trip, right? Because Beyonce's not supposed to trip. She's up on this stage, and we've elevated her to this point where anyone who's on stage, they're not human at that point, are they?
Yeah.
They've like transformed themselves into something else. And I mean, like, Beyonce on stage isn't Beyonce taking a shit or her cutting up strawberries to feed her baby. I guess it's just like if Obama came out, like, accidentally said fuck, on the radio or something, we'd be like, whoa, it's a big deal, right?
Well, I think it was even more of a trip for people when they found that he smoked.
Oh, Jesus.
Can you imagine Obama smoking? I mean, it's almost like it's not a noble act that he's polluting his own lungs.
This Kush is very good.
Right.
I enjoy it very much. How amazing would it be though if just George W. Bush and Obama were in a room smoking weed and they filmed it and they weren't worried at all about what they said? I would pay $50 to watch that DVD.
So if you could smoke a blunt with anybody, it would be with one of those two people?
Absolutely not. No, I say, I'll get back to that question, but the reason I say that is because these guys have to be most of the, whether or not you agree with their politics, they have to be some of the most fascinating people on earth to get to that position and to want to be there, to want to be president. You want all the attention, you want all the responsibility, and they're always watching what they say, all that sort of shit. I want to see Obama's insecurities. I want to see him talking to his therapist. I want to know what he thinks about, like, when he goes to bed at night. Bush too, all these guys, knowing they're responsible for deaths to some degree, and also, like, they're also responsible for good things. I just want to see what that's like. But anyway, who would I smoke with? Living or dead? Living person?
The first living.
Living. God damn. I would probably be I'm not even going to qualify this and say being a nerd, whatever. A writer I really like, Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman?
Yeah. He wrote,
that's a comic book writer, right?
Yeah, he also does books like American Gods. He did he wrote a couple episodes of like Doctor Who. He does sci-fi stuff. I think he'd be really interesting to talk to. Mm-hmm. I want a creative guy. Maybe even Kanye.
Kanye.
I think that would just be...
Smoking with Kanye would be like smoking with what's the name of Dave Chappelle's character in Half Baked?
God damn it. The
guy with the braids
in the jacuzzi.
No, remember Dave thought that smoking with him would be something fun, and then all of a sudden he starts divulging all his fucking problems.
Yeah.
He starts crying.
He said he'd back me.
Right.
The beginning of the Rick James sketch? Like,
right,
that was
he's praying to God and everything, and it's like that's probably what smoking with Kanye would be like.
It was like MC something. I don't fucking know. Yeah. I think he would. He'd probably.
Was it Samson?
I don't even remember, man.
Sir Smoke a Lot, maybe.
That sounds a lot like it.
I don't know. Whatever.
But I feel like he'd probably just talk a lot about himself and maybe his problems, or he'd be like, man, because I'm the best. Like, really, there's no rapper better than me, and I'm fucking Kim Kardashian. I made her pregnant.
There's, whenever I experience anybody being hostile while high, I really don't get it. I don't get it because to me, I would just think that if I was being hostile, immediately I would internally check myself.
Yeah, because you'd realize.
You'd be like, dude, calm the fuck down. What the fuck's wrong with you? I just wouldn't get it. How about a dead person?
Can I be really... All right. I'll be really controversial.
All right, Liberace, whatever.
I was going to say like Hitler or something.
I'm going to say Hitler, really? I really think that there is something interesting to talking to somebody who has such an extreme viewpoint of the world.
That might fuck my head up, though. Just being
that,
in... I don't know what would the room be like? Would he be behind bars because he'd want to strangle me or something?
You'd be behind a cage, sir.
I'd be in the cage. No, he's in the fucking cage. It's me and a couple Jewish guys, and we're just like, dude, what the fuck? And I would like to see that. Just like, so it's right after he blew his brains out, and he comes back, and they're like, smoke this motherfucker. All right, maybe not even a mean way. Just, hey, smoke this. And he's like, what? I thought I was dead. Is this hell? And we're like, maybe. I don't know. And we just ask him shit.
Who else? I mean, what? Genghis Khan, maybe?
Motherfucker.
Well, let's move away from dictators because I think what the conversation will be centered around.
Yeah.
They'll be asking you why the fuck are you in their presence and why have they not killed you yet?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, that'll be stressful. I'd probably end up crying. He'd probably say some really mean things. I'd be away, but what the fuck? Martin Luther King? Awesome. That'd be fucking awesome.
Smoke with Martin Luther King?
Yeah. You'd be like, this kush is the... or this blunt you've given me. I'd be like, yo, this dude is the best. I'd be crying. I would cry again from his words. I'd be like, yo, can you just do the I have a dream speech? And he'd be like, I'd be like, oh my God.
That would be amazing. That probably would. I'd have to say my obvious choice would have to be I would love to fucking smoke a blunt with George Carlin. I really would.
Oh man, you chose a good one.
To me, that would be that would be because that's my childhood hero. Yeah. Funny enough, it's he's my childhood hero. So I would have loved to smoke a blunt with George Carlin. I'll actually tell you a funny story out there. Well, not a funny story. I think this story is very indicative of what can come of your life if you don't take chances. And even on the small scale of chance taking as this was, it's still I think it's very important to share with you and with the podcast. When George Carlin died, I think it was 2008, I believe. He was on his tour of his final stand-up, which was it's all bad for you. I think I said that right. So he was coming to New York City, and I believe the ticket was about $180. And George Carlin's the only person that I would have put that kind of coin towards, to go see. But at the time I was working 2 jobs, and I definitely had the money, but I was like, $180. I was thinking more practical. I was like, man, this could go towards rent. I'm not going to fucking do that. Fuck that. Yeah. So, and it was around my birthday, which is, in March. So, March passes, George Carlin dies. And I just sit around and I'm like, man, that was my last chance to ever see this man perform. A man that I'll probably be like echoing his quotes until the day I die and laughing at his comedy specials. Yeah. And I never took the chance and went to see his comedy club. And $180 is all that stood between me and an experience that I would have had to share for the rest of my life. And, and I think it's very important out there. And we're bringing it back to the inspirational for a second. But yeah.
Do you think that was a celebrity death I hate saying he is a celebrity. Like the celebrity death that affected you the most or like really just got to you?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did. But the funny thing about, George's material, if you really knew about his material, you wouldn't take his death too seriously.
Yeah, I guess you're.
The funny thing about his stand up is, you could quote him and say, I think he's up in heaven, screaming at us or something like that.
Yeah.
Or he's down in hell and he's screaming at us because, that was his humor. Those were words that he said. So when he died, I didn't take his death too seriously because he didn't take himself too seriously while he was on planet Earth. I think when somebody like Kanye dies, some people are just going to get real emotional over it because this is another aspect of creativity. I'm taking it back to that.
Yeah.
Another aspect I what you might get lost in is you might get lost in yourself.
God damn. So
I think
fucking true, dude.
I think what's important to also note is when you're creating something and when you are awesome at something and when you're doing whatever, you have to realize that the bigger picture isn't about you. It's not about what you create. It's not about your work. It's about everybody. And it's about how you can affect everybody and inspire everyone to do the same. So somebody like Kanye is someone that I'll always appreciate because I do honestly think that he is a genius at what he does. But he's somebody that I could never sit down and have a talk about creativity with because he's so rich and because I don't think we would be on the same page.
But there's different kinds of art, isn't there? Like, there are artists who genuinely feel like they have to be tortured or just crazy to make the best stuff happen. Like a lot of artists end up, getting strung out on drugs and making amazing art while they're on it. And then there are guys who are a lot more social and like they make their work more accessible. Like, I think comedians are really good at that, like processing things down and not getting too hung up in themselves. But like George Carlin's art is different from Kanye's, right? Like I don't know that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know that Kanye could operate properly as himself if he had George Carlin's ability to like relate to people and sort of doing that laughing about the human condition thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's all the same.
Really?
I see everyone's art in the sense of because
well, I guess you were talking about function just now. You said that you felt like the art is for everyone else. And I do agree, but I think that there's the way you get there is different. The way you produce it as an artist, you generate it using different kinds of energy. By the way, you guys, I want you all to weigh in on this. Tell us what you think about how different people create art. But D, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think that people that go into those dark areas, I think it's because it's out of narcissism.
Really?
I think that's the sole thing of it. It's narcissism. It's self-pity. I think that's what it comes from. I mean, I just believe that you shouldn't get so caught up into yourself where you're taking yourself so seriously to the extent where you interrupt award shows.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And but it's a part of the me generation, it really is. I mean, if you can think of a person who gets on a social network and posts their dinner, posts what they're going to do for that day, and just extrapolate that and just imagine someone who has 10 million, 20 million people paying attention to them and watching their each and every move.
Yeah.
And it's just so common. It's just, he's a victim of the times, the times that we're living in. So that's why I don't fault him or any other prima donna. They're a victim of right now, and they're getting too caught up in right now.
I would disagree to the extent that I feel like artists and people have always wanted attention. I wouldn't be making a YouTube channel if I didn't want attention. And I
sure.
To my core, I've always been that way. And I think people who are like, you would consider entertaining, guys who tell good jokes, like whenever someone, like if you've ever told a good joke to somebody or a joke and you got someone to genuinely laugh, that energy you get from them, that feeling you get, like, oh shit, like, wow. Or you made something and you hand it to them and they look at it and you're like, nice. That little, like that recognition and acceptance, I think that's what people feed on and have always fed on. And I think we have more access to that. We have tools to better, like stab a pipe into it and just suck that out. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying though?
Well, look, I think this goes back to what we were talking about. This goes back to what we were talking about and what number is enough. What number is enough for someone? If somebody started YouTube today and you told them that they could have 10,000 subscribers, they would tell you, "Holy shit, I'm here. I'm here."
Yeah.
But then again, if someone told you, "Hey, you could also get to 20 million or 10 million,"
oh man,
don't you think that there is a part of someone, and I don't want to make this about Kanye. I continue to use him as an example.
We've been on him. Yeah.
Yeah. But just anybody who's like Kanye. Don't you think that there's something in his brain that feels like he deserves more and he should get to another level and another level? I mean, because if he didn't feel that way, then he wouldn't interrupt things like he would. He wouldn't act out. He wouldn't, he wouldn't be belligerent the way he is, because there always seems like we always have an axe to grind. There's always an axe to grind. And if you don't center yourself and understand that you're just one small piece of the puzzle and that you're not a fucking snowflake, and that the same thought that's going through your mind is going through the thought of anyone else who's existing and who's trying to create, then when you understand that, you can calm the fuck down and you can just be yourself and not make everything about numbers. You can just create and just be. Yeah. But if you're at that level, if someone told any of you guys listening out there that, for example, if you're a rapper and by next year you will not only have a mixtape that has 200,000 downloads, you'll also be featured on World Star Hip Hop Weekly. You'll be on XXL's freshman list. You'll have 1 million Twitter followers. You would think that is the plateau. That's the moment that you've made it to. But you'll suddenly then realize that there's still going to be something else that you're going to strive to. There's always, what I'm trying to say, Dominic, is that there's always going to be a carrot in front of your face.
Right.
You're always going to be pulling out for it. Expect to have that carrot as the unattainable. Expect that there's always going to be a level that you're never going to reach, no matter how many levels you get to. And when you can understand that, you can be content in any stage that you're in. But only if, and this only applies if you continue to create. I'm not saying if you sit around and you do nothing and you're like, it'll happen someday. No, you have to keep creating.
Don't be that guy. You have to. The grind is important.
Only if you're grinding can you apply that method and say, I'm content with where I am, because the only thing that I can do is create. Creative people create, cops arrest people, criminals kill people, rapists rape, and podcasters podcast. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, dude,
just be what you are and don't try to get too outside of that, because and I'm rambling right now, but for example, you said that you were approached by a guy who he wanted to monetize your work and everything. It's kind of like you're being those two people at once when you're creating something, but there's something else that you're seeking. There's attention that you're seeking. There's monetary value that you're seeking. So it's almost like you and that guy are combined.
Yeah.
And that's disgusting. There's something disgusting about that.
It happens to me more and more as I get better at drawing. There's always people like, they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh man, I see you draw, man. We should hook up and do something, man." And they'll give me some stupid idea they have. And they basically want me to work a lot, and then and just so that to contribute to their dumb idea and have them make money from it. And maybe me too, but like, I don't know, it's horse shit. Mm-hmm. That'll happen to you guys too, by the way. If you're good at what you do, people will ask you for stuff. You'll get asked a lot, so you have to make sure to figure out who's. I don't know. It's not even that hard to figure out, really. There's no secret to figure out who's genuine and who isn't, who you do or do not want to work with. It's weird, like, I think about that creative drive, and it's almost like sex. Like, maybe at some point when you're 70, you won't have a sex drive anymore, but that's probably not going to happen. Like, when you have to boil it down and step behind what sex actually is, and it's like your body trying to produce more of you. It's like your ultimate narcissism, you wanting to push, you saying that you're important enough to make another one.
Right.
So I think creativity maybe is the same thing. Like
it's the same. Yeah, absolutely.
There's never enough people to fuck.
Right.
Or I guess if you're one of those people who think that there's only one person out there for you, a soulmate. Well, what do you think about that stuff?
No, absolutely. It's all exactly the same. If you're a man and you are in a listen, I am in a committed and relationship with my girlfriend, and she knows this, that there are women that I look at on the street and I say, I'd like to fuck her, because that, that's just what, when you're a man, there's incentive to having sex with females. Females can only get pregnant and for 9 months it'll take them to spit that baby out. So there's no incentive for a woman.
I kind of disagree. I think that women have sort of been trained to think that there's no incentive. Like, I think
no, but wait a minute.
They want to fuck. All right. So you're saying bottom line though, like
no, I mean in the sense, right, how the body functions.
Oh, yeah, totally. Getting pregnant. Okay.
A woman, right? She's gonna give birth. So if a woman has sex with you and she's pregnant, there's no incentive to have sex with me in the middle of her, trial. So, but with a man, obviously, we can fuck as many women as possible because we can keep the species going, and we're not pregnant for 9 months. So there's always incentive to move on to the next one. But for women, not the same.
Yeah.
So, no, it's absolutely the same as far as the creativity. It's and with fucking people, there's always going to be the unattainable. It's always going to be there.
So why do we do this thing with sex then? Where I guess like my main answer is religion, but like, why do we do this thing where it's like there's only one girl out there for me, and God damn it, I'm gonna stay a virgin until I marry this girl, and we're gonna have some boring ass sex the rest of our lives.
Because I am a slave to society, which is why all of you eventually will find somebody and live with them, because society says that you should come together and earn 2 incomes and keep the economy going and make more people.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But what I'm saying is, like, I believe it's not for everybody. Marriage and like a solid ass monogamy is for some people. It's clearly not for everyone though, as like we have these crazy ass divorce rates. I just don't see why, like, the idea of like, short-term relationships, open relationships, all this sort of shit is like, you would never see a president with like, oh yeah, me and my wife, we like hang around sometimes, or we're not together. Like sometimes we get with other people, whatever.
That's crazy. Yeah, you would never see that. That's crazy.
Can you imagine that? Like, sometimes she like, we fuck other people, and we've discussed it like adults, and if we're jealous, we discuss that as well. And, we carry on.
I think the day that we have someone who is at the top that can actually share things like that, I think that's the day that we can truly evolve, but it'll never happen.
You're right.
It'll never happen because we are all set up to be lemmings and have a leader. We're all set up to be the Smurfs and to have Papa Smurf to have the red hat. And Papa Smurf is, he's got the gray beard and he knows best. He is the most noble. He is the most intelligent. And that's just how we have to work. We have to operate like that at some level. And
I guess you're right, because we're talking about Kanye and like, and you say Kanye's name and immediately you think of this person who's like, he's kind of, I'll just say it. He's above us. He's creating this shit. He's doing these shows and having like billions of people know about him, and he's above you. And it's sort of this thing like, if you don't want to be like him, you can at least respect, or sort of on some level you want to achieve that level, right? Mm-hmm. Like because he's on top of this mountain that you eventually want to get to, even if you're not going to get there, right? Mm-hmm. So isn't he sort of a leader, like a creative leader as well?
Ooh, that's a good question. Is he a creative leader to rappers or just overall?
I would say like both. Because all right, like I'll say it like this. Creatively, like any field, like I'll take rap. Tupac and Biggie come out. They rap. They influence everyone under them. You like someone once said, I mean, a lot of people say this, the marker of a great artist is when nothing is ever the same after them. They influence so many people that like they flavor history that comes after them. Like, so people were rapping like Biggie and Tupac, and they like their style formed hip hop, right?
Mm-hmm. What? Yeah, do you mean hip hop right now? What do you mean?
Right, they're leaders. Like, so they lead different sort of like eras of art and stuff like that. Just like how Eminem sort of, I feel like he's like the father of Odd Future in some ways. Like, can you?
Okay, I could
you
see
vibe
that.
with me on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Very humorous.
Yeah, like harsh, like really harsh humor stuff. But then you throw in a song about your dad and how you're really sad about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know you're not running around killing people, so it's a total joke. But then there are the guys who want you to think that they actually do that. Sorry, go ahead.
You truly can't appreciate someone until they're gone. And I don't mean that we take them for granted. It's that, you know, you don't know what the long lasting effect of their work is going to have. And it can only happen when they're gone. Not to say that it necessarily happens when you're dead. Maybe it'll have to happen when you're dead. Maybe it happens when you retire. But you never appreciate someone until they're gone. I mean, that's just what it is. You know, that's what it's like in rap. You know, you don't know if somebody is a legendary artist until maybe, I would go as far as to say 10 years after they've made their last record. So I don't think we know how big of an influence Jay-Z is until he hasn't made a single song for like 8 to 10 years.
Can we not say that hasn't he already reached that level? You would argue that we can't make that assumption yet?
No, well, I think with him there's an illusion. With him there's an illusion because we see him in all sorts of different avenues in our lives. You know, it's as if you were running through a hallway and you go into one door and you see Jay-Z, that's the rap door. You come out of another door and then that's Jay-Z. He's in, you know, he's on the MSNBC and he's talking with Warren Buffett. You close that door and then you see he's at the net game, you know, on the sideline. So he's in all these different fucking universes, and it gives you an illusion that rap-wise, he is which he is influential, but we won't get a grasp of how influential he is until he's made his last record, you know, 10 years after the fact, I think.